What is up, Steeler fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Steelers Hangover. I'm Daniel, and I got a special guest with us today, Tate. Tate, how are you doing, my man? How's it going? How are you feeling on this victorious Monday?
Daniel, man, it feels good sitting in for Shannon. Shout out to the Triple OG, Shannon, man. Take care of your business, man. Thinking about you. But, man, Daniel, thanks for having me to fill in for Shannon. But I feel good about this victory Monday, man. You know, when the Steelers lose, I don't watch any sports news on Mondays. But today, because it was such a big win yesterday, such a crazy win yesterday, such a crazy game, I've been soaking it up all day, man. Like everything I can see on the national media, on podcasts, different stuff. I just been taking it all in. And if it had been an L, I probably would have been done for a week. You know what I mean? Like just tapped out for a week. I would have done the shows that I do regarding the Steelers, podcasts I do, and probably been uninformed. I wouldn't have researched anything. I just got on to talk and vent. But yeah, now I'm in a good place. I'm sure we'll talk about tonight. I like the matchup against Houston. So you know, man, I feel that positive energy right now, man, as far as the Steelers go.
Yeah, I'm with you too, my man. I think I've never watched a reaction video before of, a game or anything like that. But today I think I've seen 100 or 200 Steeler fans reacting, and a few of the Baltimore Ravens fans reacting to that missed field goal. You got to enjoy those agony clips too, because I was there. I was feeling it. Right before that kick happened, I was in agony. I thought it was over. I thought the season was done. Too. I was like, man, this is it. The kick goes up. I'm glad my wife wasn't recording me, because I would have been on that, an extra one of those clips and those reaction videos, running around. I'm glad I didn't rupture another Achilles or anything like that.
Right. But we were actually, not to cut you off, we were actually live on the Nordogs channel, the 2-minute warning. And at the moment, it was uncontrollable, right? So we thought we had to win a touchdown to Calvin Austin. Then the bad kick return, good for Baltimore, bad for us. Yeah. And then those plays, then when he lined up, when Likely got that catch and they were in field goal range, I said, damn, we lost. Like you said, I'm thinking we lost. And then when he kicked the field goal in the wide right, I'm like in the screen, like, he effing missed it. He missed it. It was so hype in the moment, man. I watched myself today, like, wow, I was kind of super hype. I need to pipe down a little bit.
Yeah, it was insane. I couldn't believe it at first. It was amazing. But let's break down this game. It didn't start off amazing. The Baltimore Ravens jump up right away, 7-0 right away in the first drive. Steelers get 3 points in the second quarter. They don't score at all in the first quarter. And, how were you feeling in the beginning of the game? I was concerned. I was thinking, oh, no, here we go again. Offense is going to struggle, just like they did against the Cleveland. What were your thoughts in the beginning of the game?
I think I was where you were at and a lot of Steeler fans were at. Because that first we won the toss. We kicked off, right? Yeah. And then the first play of the game, Derrick Henry gets that big run. Luckily it was called back by 15, 16 yards because of penalty, but it was a 40-yard run out the gate. I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be one of them nights again. Mm-hmm. We've seen this movie before. Was my thinking at that moment. Then, they end up holding them to 3. Or no, they got that touchdown on 4th down. And so they're up 7-0. I felt like that was just on Jalen Ramsey completely. I'm sure we'll get into it more, but you asked me how I felt. So when it was 7-0 quick, they scored in the first drive. I'm thinking, I still got my belief because this first quarter 7-0, but I'm thinking we could be in for a long evening.
Yeah. I was texting the family and, right away I was like, all right, they scored. If we get on the board or we do anything but go 3 and out or just have a couple plays, we'll be all right. And I don't think we did too well on the first drive. And then, they come back and eventually they get a field goal, and so they go up 10, and it's 10-3. The Steelers are down, and they start getting some movement. They go on this long drive, and one of the probably the most questionable play calls I've ever seen was there after Pat Freiermuth, pulls in the pass interference call in the end zone. They're in time for one last play, either kick a field goal or go for it. I was happy that they went for it. I was not pleased with the play call. I would have preferred a tush push in that situation. I think if they would have done the tush push and not gotten it, I would have probably been less disappointed. But the play that they call was designed to put Kenny Gainwell, I guess, one on one with somebody if one of the defenders falls for the play fake that was happening, or the play action that was happening in the interior part of that play. What did you think about that play? I disliked it. I think I told my family I hadn't seen. I don't even think I saw Matt Canada call a play like that. What did you think about that last half before the half play?
Yeah, man, I'm 100% with you. I was okay with going for it. I was glad we went for it. I think the tush push would have been a better play call, but something besides sending Jonnu Smith in motion the other way and trying to misdirect them and not giving Gainwell any lead blocking out there that side. He was just supposed to beat whoever the man was out there, and it was doomed from the start. So I'm with you 110% on that one. I mean, agree with going for it. No problem at all with that, but definitely didn't like the play call.
Yeah,
It kind of put me in mind. It looked like the same play. Remember last week against Cleveland on the fourth down, they went for it and Gainwell got stopped on like a 4th and 3 near midfield. It was similar to that. I'm not saying the same exact play, but it was kind of like a wide run where he has to get outside and it just didn't materialize. I felt like that was the same type play.
Yeah, it definitely was. I was frustrated. I thought the momentum had swung the other way. Fortunately, as we mentioned, the Steelers end up coming in and taking the ball at the second half, and that's really when offensively they started to really get to work. Defensively as well, they shut out the Ravens for the entirety of the third quarter. But let's start talking about some of these players. Aaron Rodgers, 31 of 47, 294 yards, 1 touchdown, got sacked twice for 4 yards. What did you think about A-Rod? I thought as the night progressed, he got better, and I think he and Jonnu Smith just need to get on the same page. Another ball that was wide open, thrown over his head. Outside of that, I thought as he warmed up, he did well. What was your opinion of the 4-time MVP?
Yeah, if he had hit that one, he'd have passed for well over 300 if he had hit that play because it was there. But as far as his play overall, I felt like, and like I felt in most of these games, outside of the game in LA against the Chargers, and I felt like that he kind of went back home to Malibu, and maybe who knows what he was doing this Saturday night before the Sunday night game, because that to me was his worst game of the year. But last night it sounds cliche because we've heard players say it, we've heard Coach Tomlin say it. It's what they brought him here for, right? I mean, the dude's brain at the line of scrimmage is a computer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he gets up, he talks to his receivers one-on-one in the huddle. If you watched all the stuff that I'm sure you heard about in the huddle before that Calvin Austin touchdown, he asked Calvin, what do you want to run on the backside, and McCormick or Muth, he wasn't sure which one said it, but just cook somebody. And he did the double move. He got open. The dude slipped. Aaron Rodgers hit him, but Aaron Rodgers was on a burner last night in the second half, man, especially in the fourth quarter. And we graded it out last night. I gave him an A.
Yeah.
He got a complete A. I mean, he probably took one of those sacks was of his own doing. Can't blame him for using the timeouts. Well, 2 of them anyway, because miscommunication problem. And that was a critical point. Getting the touchdown was more important than saving the timeout. Yeah. If you had to kick a field goal then in the 17-16, you're still down. So I was okay with that, though I'd rather it not happen. And he just made all the right plays, man. Made all the right plays. So,
I thought he did as well. He was smart with the ball. That's one of the things that have kind of come down quite a bit. I think he has 7 interceptions on the season, but a lot of that was earlier on in the year. For the last few games, and I'm going to knock on wood, I didn't jinx him for anything. He's been protecting the ball. And really, I don't want to say game managing, but elite game managing, not doing anything too overly crazy. He was able to get away from pressure at one point. He got a first down, with his legs, and he looked good out there. Like I said, it looked like he needed to calm down a little bit at first. I think maybe he needed to build a little bit of confidence in his offensive line there, or gain some confidence in his offensive line there from maybe perhaps the last week, maybe he still had some jitters. I don't know. But once he did calm down, I thought he played, amazing. I mean, he's looking more like, pre-Jets Aaron Rodgers. Extremely. I think he's already surpassed that. I think he's done way surpassed, I think, what most people would have thought he would have done for the season as well. And like you said, it does seem like he's calling a lot of his own plays or making his own things happen. The Kenneth Gainwell pass down the seam or down the sideline against the Lions. After that, he was talking with Kenny Gainwell and Jalen Warren were talking on Heyward's podcast. And during that podcast, he mentioned, or Cam asked him, he's like, hey, we all heard Aaron Rodgers tell you to run the go route. Does that happen a lot? He says, yeah, he changes everything all the time, everything he sees based on all those things. So to me, I think that's another component to why the Steelers are successful is they're finally allowing or they're trusting the eyes of the quarterback, in which I don't think they've done that for the last few years. And I think they've kind of handcuffed some of the QBs, and whether that was for their own, better or whatnot for the team in this scenario, it's worked out.
I think rightly so that they handcuff some of those QBs. I mean,
that's true.
We see what Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields are all doing now. We see what they're doing. And Steelers were able to win with those guys in spite of those guys. And Aaron Rodgers has nobody since Big Ben, and even Big Ben his last 2 years wasn't prime 7. Aaron Rodgers has the cachet and the experience and stuff like that where he can override some play calls, and the team and the coaches trust what he sees, his eyes on the field. So, I think before we were kind of handcuffed to there's a play and there's an audible play. Aaron Rodgers can go to the line of scrimmage and determine what the defense looks like. Then have one choice of audible. He has carte blanche, whatever he wants to do. And that's big for this offense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And it's worked out great, like you said. And, I don't think – because, there was some rumors last year that Russell Wilson and Arthur Smith didn't get along. One of the games that that Russell Wilson had a big game against was against the Cincinnati Bengals. And supposedly there was a lot of Russell Wilson running Russell Wilson plays out there. And after that, he kind of fell off. So I don't know, maybe Arthur learned from his lesson there and say, hey, maybe he needs to trust and give a little bit to his quarterback as well. And I think we're seeing the fruits of that labor, so to speak. The running game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, as a team, they ran for 100 yards. Jalen Warren was 14 for 66 yards. Kenneth Gainwell was 5 for 10. Rodgers had 20 yards on one run. Not too bad. That was actually the long.
Gainwell was 5 for 10. He had 20 yards, didn't he?
No, he had 5 carries, 10 yards.
Yeah, you're right. 2 yards a carry. That's what it was.
Yep. Yeah, and then Connor had
Rodgers had the 20-yard run.
Rodgers had the 20-yard. He had the long run of the game. Not a stat you expect to see, but overall they ran for 100 yards against the Ravens defense. Definitely appeared to put the ball up in the air more when watching the game and depended more on the ball in Rodgers' hands. They didn't have DK Metcalf. How do you think that they did in the passing game without him, and bringing in DK? How is he going to fit with Adam Thielen now and MVS being active? I'm sure Roman Wilson's not going to get a helmet still. How is this going to work?
I'm excited at the prospects, man, right? I mean, because 294 last night with Adam Thielen and Freiermuth and MVS being your main weapons. Now you bring DK back, DK fresh, DK off, 3 weeks removed from playing a game. So I think he'll be at full explosiveness, full health. You add that to what I think they've discovered. I think now, Calvin Austin and Thielen are out there, and you'll see MBS drop down to receiver 4. And I think because Darnell Washington is gone, you'll see much more plays targeted for Muth over the middle. Because it's playoff time, right? I mean, there's no sense in holding back. You made it to where you're trying to be. So now every game is win or go home. So you don't have to play risk adverse.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can attack the middle of the field. Aaron, do what you do. Defense, we need you to take on the challenge of matching the number one defense in the NFL. So I think getting DK back and what they've had to do to kind of manufacture offense since he's been out is only going to help them be better once he's put back in.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And it's going to make things easier for these other guys too, because the attention's going to be on DK. And so some of these guys are going to be able to get open or should be able to get open a lot easier. Calvin Austin, he's been out also with injury. He made his return. He had a big play, as we mentioned before, gave the Steelers the go-ahead winning touchdown at the end there. And overall, like I said, I think the offense played great. The offensive line, I think, is continuing to take steps forward. I don't know where Broderick Jones is on his injury status, if he's going to try to come back for the playoffs or not. I don't think the Steelers are too concerned about it. How are you impressed with Dylan Cook's performance, filling in as a guy that was I think he was fourth guy on the depth chart for this position?
Yeah, I'm definitely impressed with Dylan Cook. I mean, a lot of people seem to think he's the starter moving forward, beyond this year. I think he looks really good, but I'm not ready to anoint him the starter going into next year. I think you got too much invested in Broderick Jones in the first round pick, not to at least make it a competition.
Yeah,
for the left tackle position. So I'm not anointing him yet, but they've got above quality play. So, Dylan Cook's played great. I feel like the line has been really good, and they're just getting better and better. The more games they play, as long as they stay healthy, I anticipate that they keep getting better because, the snaps on the field together. I mean, it's continuity and rapport building with the offensive line. The more times you go to battle together, the more experiences you get in what the guy next to you likes or what he's going to do and stuff like that. So I see the line play improving, and we have a huge challenge this week. I'm sure you'll get into it as we continue on here against Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson for the Texans. But I think the line will be up to it, man. I watched Riley Leonard hang 30 on the Houston's head yesterday. So
I
have no of the potential matchups in the wild card round. I'd rather play C.J. Stroud than Justin Herbert or Josh Allen for my first game.
I don't disagree with you there. They're coming in from Houston. Not really cold down here. I'm in Texas. I can tell you right now, it was about 80 degrees today. And so it's going to be, yesterday I think was 84, 85, something like that. So going out there, I'm actually going to go to the game. I'm going to be at this game, probably freezing my tail off. Afton Ford, that's Ford, that's in the live chat. She's actually going to be, her and her mom are going to be tagging along with me and my wife to the game. So we'll be there this weekend. And I also got 2 tickets left for sale. If anybody's interested, hit me up. Well, anywho, I agree with you on everything there with the offense. The offensive line is looking good. With Broderick Jones, though, isn't this the year they have to make a decision on his 5th-year option? It's this year, right? This offseason?
Yeah, offseason.
And what do you think the Steelers should do with that situation?
Oh, they play it out. He hasn't earned the 5th-year option.
Yeah.
I mean, next year will be his 4th year. So you decline the option, just let him play it out. And if he has a good season, shout out Chat General Afton in the building. She was on the show last night when I got super hyped.
There you go.
He missed the kick. But yeah, man, I mean, so you don't reward him with the 5th-year option. You let him play it out, and because we're talking about you're coming in to compete. If you had the job and solidified it, you get your 5th-year option. But we're bringing you back to compete. At the very least, your last year, you'll be a good swing tackle for us, and then you go about your business, Dan Moore.
That's what it kind of feels like at this point with Broderick, Mike Tomlin often says one man's misfortune is another man's opportunity. And Dylan Cook is making the best of that opportunity. And I think he's going to deserve the opportunity to fight for that position. And I think it's going to be a lot more of a fair competition going up against somebody who's in the last year of their contract, who didn't get their 5th-year option versus Broderick at any other point in his career, because of the pedigree, because of the draft stock that was put into him. They traded up to go get him in the first round. You have to kind of see what you got in him and put him out there. And so, I think next year you're absolutely right. You put him in. You make it a battle, and it's going to be a fair one. It's not going to be one of these Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky quarterback battles. It's going to be one, I think, that could be fair. But yeah, and to kind of just circle around, I think the pass catchers are going to, with DK coming back, are going to do even better. The tight ends, without Darnell Washington, that was a concern of mine. More so with the blocking aspect of it. We saw the tush push where Cam Heyward had to get involved in that, and he was the person doing that. How do you feel about that? Do you think that potentially takes an offensive weapon off the field? I know they were doing some things. They were playing with the tush push play where they were doing some different things with it. Does having Cam Heyward eliminate those different things for you?
As far as being on the tush push?
Yeah, like doing some of the other creative things, like how they were pitching it off to Gainwell, and then right before or in the last game we saw even Aaron Rodgers now starting to run out and run out. It just seemed like there was going to eventually be some sort of potential pitch to Rodgers, and then he was going to throw it. Having Cam Heyward out there now, does that eliminate that possibility?
They're setting something up in the event that they need to pull it out of their hat.
Yeah.
I don't think so, because from that position, I don't know how much of a weapon Darnell Washington was. I mean, I guess he's a tight end, so he catches better than Cam, but I don't see him come from that position of being the tush pusher and then getting open in a route. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue with his size and his physicality, Cam Heyward could serve as a good blocker back there if they were to, snap it to Warren. He flips it back to Aaron Rodgers for some type of pass. I mean, I think you rather a full-time offensive guy there, but like Coach Tomlin said last night during the press conference, we traded one large human for another large human. So it's more, but and really, Connor Heyward said the day after practice or after team meeting that Cam kind of just picked him up and carried him because he said they couldn't run that live in practice, right? So
yeah,
it was kind of just walk through the play. And the first one we know that they didn't get. Not saying it's because of Cam. That was a little distance on that one.
Yeah, that was far.
Yeah, that was far. But the second one was better, and I think it'll get better as we go along. So I'm not too much worried about it because, I mean, Cam Heyward's a big, strong guy. He can push his baby brother around and get a yard. So I'm okay with it. And whatever the trick behind it was going to be or is going to be, it's going to be a one-time thing. So I think they still can have that ace up their sleeve, but maybe they don't need it. We'll see. Am I froze or are you froze, Daniel? Okay. So I'm not sure. Hey, okay. Thanks, Afton. Because I was wondering. I was getting ready to take myself out and come back. I didn't know if I had the Kirby's or not, Afton. But yeah, I'm sure I'll be right back. But yeah, so I think Cam Heyward's a capable blocker. He's a big body back there. So I like the potential of how he fills in for Darnell Washington. We were talking about the tight ends. And I think the Steelers miss Darnell Washington because he's the best inline tight end, right? Inline tight end means he can play right next to the tackle and be a great blocker, but he's also a receiving option. But I think the way the Steelers offense has been playing as of recently, a lot more three wideouts on the field. I think you give Aaron Rodgers more downfield options with Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith kind of more. And I'm waiting for him to actually run a jet sweep to Jonnu Smith with one of these plays. So I'm looking forward to seeing something like that. But I think the tight ends get much more involved in the downfield passing game. Washington was kind of like middle of the field, kind of drop off passes to him, let him just turn and run somebody over. So I think the tight ends will be more involved. We'll see what that looks like. And again, excited about the matchup against Houston. I think that's a matchup that the Steelers can potentially win. Everybody, national media, Vegas, everybody is obviously Steelers. Last I heard are 3.5 points underdog as of opening today at home. And we have Daniel back. Daniel, I was just rambling about the tight end since you got froze and went out. So
yeah, my computer just crapped on me, but it just restarted. I apologize for that, guys.
Oh, no problem. From me, I mean, yeah, but everybody else, yeah, he got Kirby Wi-Fi. You guys know if you watch me what that means. But no, man, about the tight ends, I was just saying that we're gonna miss Darnell Washington if he's the best. He's the number one tight end, right? Because he's the best inline option, and it increases the blocking. Mm-hmm. And he's past reception capable. You know, he's a nice outlet. He can catch some in traffic over the middle. Don't miss him in the red zone, but I think it opens it up because they've been playing a more open brand of football. I think it opens it up for Freiermuth to become more involved as a zone beater in the middle of the field. I think you'll still see Thielen with a lot of option routes, and DK and Calvin Austin kind of putting some pressure on stretching the defense. So, and I was just saying, I'm looking for one of those plays. He's in motion so much. I'm looking for one of those plays where Jonnu Smith gets a jet sweep.
Yeah. And he's a lot faster than I thought he was. You know, when he gets the ball in his hand, he can move, and he can follow his blocks. He's not a bad player with the ball in his hand. He's a good playmaker. I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that. You know, and the tight end room is definitely going to have to step up. You know, the receivers that the Steelers had, you know, one of the things that defenses were doing to them was they were locking them up because they were kind of forcing them to play. They weren't doing very well against man, and so they were playing man. You know, you have some older guys, and so now that you have DK back, Calvin Austin looks healthy, you're not going to be limited anymore. And so I'm excited. I think this team offensively, I think they can do something. I think they can do some damage. But we're going to take a quick break. When we get back on the other side, we're going to talk about this defense and what they did. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a few words from our sponsors. We're back. Well, thank you everybody for staying with us. Before we get back into the conversation, I want to remind you guys of our website, stillcurrentnetwork.com, your one-stop shop for Pittsburgh Steelers news and coverage. Go check it out when you're done here. You can catch, if you're only watching YouTube videos, you're missing out on quite a bit of content. There's the audio-only content that comes out on stillcurrentnetwork.com and anywhere else you find your podcast. You also find mine, State of the Steelers, on Still Current Network. That airs out on Saturdays at 11 a.m. You don't want to miss it. I preview the upcoming matchup. I'll be previewing this upcoming game. Even though I'm going to the game, I'm not leaving the Sunday. So I'll be able to, in fact, no, you know what? Actually, I'm not leaving till Monday. I'm going to leave early Monday before the game. And so I'll be able to do the show then. Probably won't be doing the post-game show. But check us out on the stillcurtainetwork.com. So back to the conversation. TJ Watt came back. Much needed time. He had a huge interception. I know that it was a pass that was blocked back into him, but big plays coming from the defense kind of made you nervous a little bit. They gave up some big plays too. What were your thoughts on the defense overall?
Kind of similar to what they did against Cleveland the week before. They had to settle, right? It took them 2 drives to settle. Because that even that third drive, they got the 3 points. That's because the Steelers went for it on fourth down and they got one first down. We're in field goal range. But I thought the defense played well. We graded out the defensive line last night off the eye test. No, this is right after the game. Kind of knee jerk reaction grading the units. Defensive line got an A though. Cam Heyward played arguably his best game of the season. It's a travesty. He wasn't named to the Pro Bowl when he's going to be first team All Pro. He's played that well this year. Derek Harmon, if you remember, chased Lamar Jackson, made him run out of bounds, held him to no gain. Just his effort. I mean, I think he's learning under Cam Heyward. Keanu Benton had a big game. Wish him or Heisman could have wrapped Lamar up on that play that ended up being a touchdown to Zay Flowers. But still, good effort from the D-line. Y.J. Black was in there, a body in there, clogging stuff up. So, I mean, I like the way the defensive line played. The linebackers, I think there's room for them to get better. I think we had Harrison in a lot because of the threat of Derrick Henry. We needed a bigger physical linebacker in there. But I think against the Texans, you're going to see much more Peyton Wilson because the Texans, their running backs are Marks and whatever the new guy is. I mean, they're not like threats like we've played over this past month, playing against A-Chain and Gibbs and Derrick Henry and some of these guys we played against. You know, we lined up against Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, played against all these guys. So I think the key to the game, the secondary needs working communication. Jalen Ramsey, I felt like, had the lowest grade yesterday if I'm grading defensive players by just individual grades. Jalen Ramsey had the lowest grade. He got beat on one touchdown for sure, the first one, biting on something. Then I felt like it didn't cost us, luckily, but I felt like he should have been able to break up that pass play to Likely. I mean, he was right there on that ball. You got to get that out. That's your job. It's not like it was a body catch into the numbers and you couldn't get around him. It was up above his head, and you got to find a way to knock that out. You were right there. So, you know, I think he'll be better. I heard he left last night before the press was getting in there to ask questions and stuff because he obviously was still feeling some kind of way. Happy they won, I'm sure, but knows he needs to be better. So people were saying, and we were saying last night, Big G even said, play the pick 3, 4, 5, 9, because all those guys owe this week. That would be DK Metcalf, Jalen Ramsey, and Chris Boswell. So looking for those guys to bounce back.
I agree with you. I agree with you there. Boswell, though, I guess it's being reported that one missed extra point was blocked. So
yeah, you can see that. I saw in the chat too in Slack where Dave had a screenshot of it. You could tell a defender got his hand on it. Yeah, so it makes sense. But I mean, I don't know whose fault that is. We can't have that kid get blocked.
That's true.
His first extra point he missed all year, and which is, like I said, you know, fair exchange is no robbery. The Ravens kicker, his first kick missed inside of 50 all year. So, you know, a missed kick for a missed kick.
That's true. That is extremely true. You know, that's kind of one of the things that I was saying too, you know, because everybody's like, oh, well, what if they would have made it? What if they would have made it? Like, well, what if Boz would have made his? What
if the Steelers, been a tie game, overtime, right?
Yeah. And if the Steelers would have gone for a field goal before, you know, instead of going for a touchdown at the end of the draft, end of the half, or whatever the case. I mean, we can what if all day. You know, Mike Tomlin's analogy at the end of at the press conference for what ifing was it wasn't Tomlinism, but I think it was spot on.
Yeah. I mean, we said a little more crass than that when we said we're not on a podcast or being at a press conference. But yeah, if my aunt had male parts, she'd be my uncle. We know what he meant.
Yeah, exactly. And he's right. I mean, what's the point of what ifing? You know, why what if? It's not what happened. You know, at the end of the day, there are a lot of plays that are happening in the game that make a difference. And if you're waiting for that last second play to make the difference, then you're missing the point of a 60-minute football game, because everything matters in the whole game. And so defensively, I thought they played fairly well. I thought they gave up the big play when they bent. You know, I think they did break. Obviously, it wasn't so much bending. They broke on a few plays. You know, outside of those plays, I think there was a stat there, I think in the third or fourth quarter where Lamar Jackson was like 5 of 10 for less than 50 yards or something like that. It was insane. And then he started throwing the ball, and they started throwing the same kind of run or pass. The defensive line was throwing it in a different front as well, kind of giving up some areas in the pass. Chris Collinsworth and the other announcer made it
Mike Tirico.
Mike Tirico. Yes, I couldn't think of his name. Chris and Mike, they brought it up about the amount of down linemen they had. I'm 100% with you on that. I don't think we're going to see that against Houston. I know you're saying we're going to see a little bit less Payne Wilson, but another defensive lineman out. What do you expect? Another cornerback out there on the field against Houston?
I think we'll see more Peyton Wilson, less of Malik Harrison in this game.
Right.
So, but as far as I think they'll play more big nickel or put the third edge out there. When Herbie got one of his big sacks, he was coming from the middle. You know what I mean? I like those guys on the field together. Herbig, Highsmith, and TJ. I like when those guys are on the field together, and you still have Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson in there. I like those 5 guys in there together. But no, I think the defense. I think you'll see them play a little more with Herbig as the third edge on the field, and a little more nickel. So it won't be so much the extra D lineman in the game. You'll see an extra linebacker and an extra secondary piece out there, more so than you did this week. Derrick Henry's a low, right? You got to commit to stopping that thing, because if he can run somebody over, and he runs somebody over and gets loose, he's going a long way. Yeah. You know what I mean? The Houston Texans don't have the threat of that guy. So I think that makes I don't want to take it for granted, but I think it makes the defensive game planning a little more conducive to what the Steelers want to do. I think that's why I said I'd rather play him, because that guy pretty much hit a big run in the playoff game last year against, was it Baltimore? It was against the Chargers when they won that first game. But that was at home. CJ Stroud had like a 30-yard run, but that was unusual, right? We know CJ is going to be pretty much in the pocket. We know where to get to him. So it's not the threat of the QB bootlegs and QB runs and all a lot of the RPO where the quarterback keeps it. We don't have to worry about that. And I think our secondary matches up better against Houston's wide receivers than anybody else, because they got a lot of big guys. Nico Collins, the 2 young guys out of Iowa State, Higgins, and the other guy, a lot of 6'2", 6'3". Porter and Pierre, and those guys match up well against. It's a little shifty guys like Zay Flowers that gives us problems.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to this game. Like I said, I saw the Colts' third-string quarterback come back yesterday. Riley Leonard played at Notre Dame last year and hang 30 on their head. So not saying that they're not a great defense, but they can be had, and they got to come to Pittsburgh. It's a Monday night game. We know Pittsburgh's record on Monday night. He has a playoff game, which is probably a first in the Steel City, a Monday night football game, playoff game in Pittsburgh. But all the same principles apply.
Yeah, it's lining up. It's lining up for the first postseason win if the Steelers can take care of business. My another good omen. Myself and my wife, when we've gone to a few games, she's never seen the Steelers lose, so she's going to this game as well. So that's my secret weapon.
Good energy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So my secret weapon's coming with me. We're pulling out all the stops for the Steelers to get a win in the playoffs.
No doubt.
The drought has been too long. The drought's been too long. There's been a lot of conversation about the head coach and his future with the Pittsburgh Steelers from the fan base, not necessarily from the Steelers organization, but the fan base, maybe even mainstream media have talked about it. In fact, they were talking about, I can't remember who it was, but they were talking about the emphasis of how important that kick was last night. There was so much riding on it. It wasn't just the playoffs. It was the direction of potentially the direction of the franchise. Whoever lost that game, there was a lot of conversation that the head coach may not be there next year. We haven't heard anything about Harbaugh yet, so I'm not sure if that's going to happen. But a lot of riding on that game. Shoot, I think I forgot where I was going with that. A lot riding on.
You were talking about the coaching.
Yeah. So Tomlin, he goes out there, he wins a game. There's a lot of talk about him potentially walking away after this year. Do you think that talk stops?
Well, he controls the narrative, right? I mean, Tomlin does. We talk about it. We Steeler fans, we talk about it. Fire him, getting rid of him, trading. But at the end of the day, him and Mr. Rooney will sit down and discuss what they want to do. I think the Steelers have a good team. This has been, I mean, keep in mind, last year we lost 5 straight, including the playoff game. This year we go into the playoffs winning 4 out of the last 5. Win the division, got a home playoff game. I mean, if I told you that at the beginning of the year, Steelers last year they lost 5 straight. This year, at the end of the year, we're going to win 4 out of 5. We're going to have a home playoff game. Forget the seeding, a home playoff game. Would you take that? Every Steeler fan would say yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we get. We have that. We have an opportunity. We haven't played a home playoff game with fans in the building since we got beat by Jacksonville, which might have been one of the earlier losses in this playoff streak. That's the last time we played at home in a playoff game with fans. We lost to Cleveland in that game with COVID season. Well, that game started out terrible. Pouncey snapped it over Ben's head, down 7-0. I think Ben threw for almost 500 yards that game, but he threw 5 interceptions. You know what I mean? So Steeler Nation showed up yesterday. I think they're really going to show up this week. I think that's going to make a difference. And I think Mike Tomlin, at the very least, finishes out his contract, which I believe the Steelers, they have an option to decline their option in March.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when we'll know really more what the plan is, right? I mean,
I think so. I mean, I think we'll know at the end. Obviously, at that time, there's no way we'll know one way or the other. I think if Tomlin wins a playoff game, I think not only him, but I think there's a good possibility that Aaron Rodgers returns. There was some reports out there. I think it was Jerry Dulac who was saying that, the Steelers were going to, if they lose against the Ravens, that Aaron Rodgers was going to basically either retire or join another team. He wasn't going to come back to Pittsburgh. I think that possibly changes now, and given the quarterbacks that are coming out in the draft and the position where the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be drafting, are you for that? Would you be game for Aaron Rodgers returning? And how do you think the Steelers should handle the quarterback position? And I know we're looking a little bit far ahead. We're still got a playoff game and stuff like that. But
but it makes sense.
Rodgers.
Now today is Black Monday. Today's the day that 18 other teams have started their off season. So why not at least have an inkling of what you may want to do? So even though you got a playoff game, they're not talking about it, but we as fans and podcasters can talk about it.
Heck yeah.
What I think they should do is, I think Aaron Rodgers comes back as it stands right now. I mean, he's looking his best that he's looked all year. When he plays this game, this next Monday, it'll be 17 games in Pittsburgh, because remember Chicago he missed. Mason Rudolph started. 17 games played in Pittsburgh. I believe he played 17 total games for the Jets last year, because the year he got hurt the first game. 4 snaps in, he's hurt. Yeah. So he played 17 games for the Jets last year. They were 5-12. He had Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson as his weapons. Still didn't work well. Right here, we got only DK Metcalf as a major threat. So with the draft, I think maybe you acquire a quarterback to compete. Maybe you can get Malik Willis for a few $10 million, and let him and Will Howard compete for who's in waiting. But Malik Willis can go somewhere and start. But at any rate, Will Howard's an option. If you get a guy with all those picks in the 4th round, I think there are quarterbacks out there. I think you use all your top 3-round picks and get players that can impact right now. And to me, one of those has to be a receiver to play opposite DK. I agree with, even though he had a good season, Pickens was going to want to get paid. You can get one of the top 3 or 4 receivers out of college if you use a 1st-round pick this year. pair him up with DK Metcalf, give Aaron Rodgers some weapons. I feel good about Warren Gainwell and Caleb Johnson, who hasn't played much, but still you got a unused, unproven asset that is a third-round running back that we know is good in the Big Ten. I like the tight end room. I mean, the offense looks good. Yeah, you got to have a developmental quarterback. We saw what playing behind Aaron Rodgers for a couple of years did for Jordan Love before he got started. Who knows?
That's
I mean, Will Howard was a big-time quarterback in college, winning a national championship, playing at Ohio State. I mean, I like him sitting behind. Not saying you don't need to bring another guy in, because I think Mason is not the guy. I mean, he's a good quality backup. We got him for 1 year next year, one more year for $4 million.
Mm-hmm.
I think you keep him, but you bring in another potential guy to compete with Mason for that third quarterback. Or Will Howard. Two out of those three. Will Howard, Mason, and a new guy. Whoever the new guy is, but you got a first, you got a second, and you got 3/3. You use those on players you can play now. And then all those fourth, fifth, and those other later round picks, you can trade up, maybe get one more player. I mean, or that's how I look at it. Get as many good playable players you can play next year as you can. We don't need to overdraft a quarterback this year.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you there. I think that's quite possible. Given where the Steelers are drafting and the capital that's going to be required to get up there, and even at that, I just feel that there are some teams that are up there at the higher part of the draft that are quarterback needy. And so it's one thing, like if, maybe the Giants are a team that are up there in the top, 5 picks of the draft that you might be able to have an opportunity to trade with. But the teams in front of them are quarterback hungry as well. And so you may still end up getting the third best quarterback at that point. And it may not be the guy that you're wanting. This class wasn't what it was anticipated to be. A lot of players ended up going back in for another year in college. A lot of players didn't produce. Archie Manning was one of them. And I was watching him. I was hoping he would be the guy that would come out and the Steelers would somehow make a move to try to get him. Not necessarily closing the door on that. I think he's progressed and he's gotten better over the year, but he's definitely not the guy that I thought he was at this point in his career.
Which is why he's going to stay in school.
Exactly. And I think there's going to be a few other, there was a few others that are. And so now you got to be able to adjust. And, the Steelers, they haven't adjusted in the past. And the last time they had a quarterback, needy situation, they didn't, and they ended up taking a quarterback in the first round that probably wouldn't have gotten drafted in the top three rounds. I wonder about that. If Kenny Pickett didn't get drafted by the Steelers in the first round, if he would have been available in the second round for him, I think he may have. I think that quarterback class was looked down upon, and as you can see, I think Malik Willis is the only one that's got a promising future right now. Brock Purdy, but he was the
Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, the last guy. So nobody, right. He really came out of nowhere. And so hopefully the Steelers don't make any mistakes, because that can set your team back if you get it wrong with the quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of did with Kenny Pickett. I feel like quarterbacks always get overdrafted, right? They're quarterbacks. So they always, if you're a quarterback, you're gonna get pushed up around automatically. You're gonna get pushed up around. I mean, we did a lot of talk last year about Jackson Dart. He went late. The other quarterback, Tyler Show, he had a good year in New Orleans playing for the Saints, but they were a bad enough team. They just could throw him out there and let him go, let him run with it, take some lumps, The Steelers are never going to be – we never wanted to be in that position. We want to pass the torch in whatever we do, be it coaching, be it Derek Harmon learning from Cam Heyward. We pass the torch, which is the foundation of organizational consistency, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's what the Steelers motto is. The Steelers going out, teach the Steelers coming in how to be Steelers and what it means to be a Steeler. I don't disagree with Mark Malone. I wouldn't say 3 receivers, but they need 2 for sure. They need 2. But I wouldn't be mad if they got 2 receivers in the first 4 rounds, which is for 6 picks. If they took 2 receivers out their first 6 picks, I wouldn't be mad.
I wouldn't either, especially given the fact that they're not putting any trust into Roman Wilson. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if it's a situation with him and Rodgers. Rodgers maybe just aren't
I
him and
think it
Arn.
is. I heard the reason he didn't get a helmet this week because Aaron Rodgers said he feels more comfortable with Thielen and MVS. And you're bringing Calvin Austin back, so that's the third guy. And Skoranek is best on special teams, so there's your other guy. That's 5 guys. MVS, Thielen, Skoranek's gonna get a helmet because he's special teams. Calvin Austin is your other guy. Your number 2, technically, really, is back healthy. So maybe he could have played, and because DK
Scotty
wasn't
Miller.
there, but I don't think he's gonna get a helmet this week.
No, I mean he didn't get a helmet without DK there. Another one, I mean Scotty Miller, who's the other wide receiver, he's probably losing his helmet for DK to get onto the field, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so you're even further behind. Kind of makes me question, if he's going to be a guy that's going to survive. Maybe he gets traded. I don't know. Especially if Aaron Rodgers is coming back. If Aaron Rodgers comes back, I don't know if that chemistry is all of a sudden just going to, at a snap of a finger, be there for next year. Maybe it is. Maybe they work out all off season.
Yeah, it's an off season. I mean,
get on the same page, but
I got, because I think Roman Wilson's a talented player. I mean, arguably after DK, but he's a bigger body than Calvin Austin, at least physically, maybe not height wise by that much, but he's explosive. You know what I mean? So I think the reason he's not on the field is because the communication and the detail and stuff is not there with Rodgers yet.
Yeah.
But because I find it tough to believe he's not getting a helmet, and Scotty Miller did. And, Thielen is a crafty veteran. Aaron Rodgers is just comfortable with MVS. But MVS is not like a guy. You know what I mean? That's who Aaron Rodgers is comfortable with. Roman Wilson's a better talent right now than MVS.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I ain't gonna lie. When the ball is thrown to MVS, I have the same reaction as when Ben used to throw to Heyward Harris Bay. I'm probably saying his name all backwards. Heyward Bay.
Darius Heyward Bay.
There you go. Darius Heyward Bay. Every time they threw him the ball, I would hold my breath because I thought, I was like, man, this guy's gonna drop it. Or Limas Sweet, like all these guys. I was like, that's how I feel when the ball's going to MVS.
Yeah.
Because even when he's caught it doesn't look clean. It doesn't.
Last night the catch, it was a big catch, but the ball caught him.
Exactly.
He fell to the ground, Bobby. You wondered if the defensive back for Baltimore can take it off his chest and be an interception because he's bobbling the thing around, but then he corrals it in. But yeah, there are no clean, just hand catches from MVS.
Yeah, there's nothing clean. And it is like I said, I hold my breath every time they throw him the ball. And no disrespect to him. I mean, he's had some plays. He's gotten out there. He's gotten a touchdown for the Steelers not too long ago. But definitely hold your breath there. DK coming back, that's going to be massive. We'll touch a little bit on the special teams. Boz missed the field goal, but it looked like it was blocked, and people are putting it out there that it was blocked.
Yeah.
Some of the snaps by Kuntz have been a little high, a little low. I know he's been dealing with some injuries, but that's got to get cleaned up. Special teams, you can't not have points get on the board. That's going to cost you games. That could have cost the Steelers the game last night. Not saying that that's why he missed. I don't think that was the case. But in other games, he's been kind of a little bit. And our punter, Carlos Waitman, he's had some shanks. Any concern about the special teams?
The special teams is a good unit. They haven't been playing consistent over the course of the season, but we know Boswell's one of the top kickers in the league. Corliss Wakeman is a better than capable punter. Skoranek is a really good special teams player, and they have to play cleaner. I agree with you that the long snapper, you just said his name again, Christian Kuntz, got to get tighter on his snaps. And I'll tell you this, I think this week, Monday night, we'll see a big play in the return game from either Calvin Austin or Jaylen Warren on a kickoff return.
That'd be nice. That would be nice.
It's due. I can see it is provided there's no penalty. I see it's looking like it can happen.
Mm-hmm. You know what I always look for is with Carlos Waitman, him being a left-footed punter. I'm looking for the bobble. I'm looking for the fumble and the dropped punt because of the ball going the wrong direction. Um, Last time the Steelers played Houston, didn't do so well. I was at that game.
You
My
got beat
wife wasn't.
30-6.
Yeah, my wife wasn't at the game. I went with my brothers. Me and my brother. When I've gone with my brothers, we've not won. My brothers are not going to this game. My brothers are not going. Uh, I think it was 2019. We went to the Saints game where there was the Joe Hayden pass interference, and then that same year we went to the I think at time San Diego Chargers game where they claimed that Hayden, I think it was either Hayden or Minka, that was offsides on the field goal attempt that they missed, and it wasn't an offsides. And so those were the game. Yeah, I was like, man, you guys are just bad luck. Y'all are not allowed anymore.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
18 of 28 for 132 yards and 1 interception. Last time we played Houston, that was Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky combined. I think we'll get much better quarterback play than that this time around in our house, not in Houston. And
I agree.
Conversely, CJ Stroud was 16 of 30 for 308 yards and 2 tubs.
That's true.
So
I remember.
I went to look back at what happened that game, and 30-6 BTA. The Steelers took the bad end of that. But I don't think that happened. I think we're in for a defensive struggle, and the Steelers defense needs to feel like they can compete with the best defense in the league. I think we're looking for. I'm taking the under in this game, whatever it's going to be. I think it's 39.5 right now.
Yeah,
I definitely would take the under.
I think it'd be smart to take the under against in this game.
Right.
Even with DK and everybody back, it's gonna be hard to put up some points against that defense. That defense is a championship defense, or potential championship defense. As you mentioned, the Colts hung up 30 on them, and so they like anybody else, they can lose. They can get got, so to speak, on defense. It's gonna be a crazy game. I expect Steelers Nation to be out there. It's gonna be, I think, in the 20s, so it's not overly cold. It's not one of those like it's not going to be a game like the Christmas Eve game against the Raiders where it was like felt like negative something.
Yeah,
thank God.
The Franco game.
Yeah, I don't want to be there in that kind of conditions.
Right, especially coming from Texas where it's all nice and cozy. I was in Florida for the holidays, and it was like 75 and 80s there. I was there for about 8 or 9 days, but the day I came back, coming from Tampa, Florida, was 35 there that day, and I came back to the DMV, and it was 35 here. So I know how it is to be, because the cold is relative, right? I mean, I grew up in Ohio, but I live out right outside Washington, D.C. now, and this is cold to me now. So when I go home to Ohio, that's really cold, and Pittsburgh and Ohio cold are similar. So
yeah, it's different because like me and the wife, we go out to Colorado often. We haven't gone in a couple of years, but we've gone out to Colorado often. And I've told people it don't feel cold out there. When I go to Pittsburgh, when that wind blows, that's not the same.
Right.
That wind slaps you.
It slaps you. It's all perspective, man. And you have a good amount of it living in Texas, traveling to Colorado, going to Pittsburgh. I mean, that's definitely some good perspective there, man, because it hits different.
It does. Well, we're getting kind of towards the end of it. Tate, what do you have going on the rest of this week? What do you want to share with everybody?
Oh man, well, hopefully we had the Triple OG Shannon back on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. We do the Pump Your Brakes podcast. That will be preceding the Smash the Gas podcast that we do on the Know It Alls channel. So we typically go from Smash the Gas to Pump Your Brakes. They play off each other. And then Friday night, we got the homies on the Steel Curtain Network, so check that out. And everybody catch us every Sunday. We'll probably have some type of playoff show this weekend for the Know It Alls to talk about all the different playoff games. So just tap into the Know It Alls channel along with, catching us here on the Steel Curtain Network when we do our shows with Steel Curtain Network, the homies, and Pump Your Brakes. So that's about it, man.
Good deal. Well, you guys can catch me on State of the Steelers that airs out on Saturday on steelcurtainnetwork.com and anywhere else you find your podcast for Steel Curtain Network. I'm going to be previewing the upcoming matchup, giving you guys some more stats and information and the latest injury report and game statuses. So you don't want to miss that. We'll talk also a little bit of betting, which, by the way, I won the championship for the Steel Curtain Network Fantasy Football League. I actually won both. I was in two different ones. I was in that one. I was in a different one that I got some money on. It's been a good year so far. 2026 has been nice for me. I hope it continues with the Steelers victory, and so much more, guys. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. We'll see you guys next time tomorrow night. Big Bro Sco Show is going to be on for Tate. I'm Daniel. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out, everybody.